Hey, this is Doug Giles, Warriors and Wildmen podcast. Got my good buddy Rich Whitmer here. Rich, how'd he do?
Doug, what's happening, man? Good to be here with you again on Warriors and Wildmen. Let's talk about what's cracking.
Well, Rich, as you know, I don't know if the Warriors and Wildmen listeners know, but I live in Texas, outside of Austin, about 3 hours from the landfall of Hurricane Harvey. And, we didn't get hammered, obviously, like they did in Houston and Port Aransas, and they're currently getting jackhammered in Beaumont, Port Arthur area right now. But we got about double digits of rain, creek swelled, place was a mess, tree limbs busted all over the place. But you know what? Texans know how to rock in a hard spot. And I want to talk about that today with you, Rich, and fill the ears of our Warriors and Wildmen listeners with a little Texas attitude, because Texas, as you well know, gets a lot of derision. The people in the old smarmy northeast corner and down there in the southwest and LA and, I almost forgot Seattle, and all the so sassy secularists down in South Florida, they give Texans crap on a regular basis. But I think in this epic hurricane, this history-making Harvey mess that has hit us, we're seeing some epic response from people. And Rich, dare I say, it's a derivative from a Christian worldview, this self-sacrifice, this heroism, this unity that's coming forth and being blazoned on television, at least Fox News, from Texans that are dealing with the unbelievable, life-devastating bullshit that comes from Harvey. Yeah. Am I wrong, Richard?
Nope, I agree with that, Doug. I think it's funny that when tragedy hits, people start looking to the conservative Christians to help out, because the liberals are all giving their money to save dogs. You know what I'm saying? It's like, save the animals, let's do that. Hey, let's save the people. You want to talk about protesting? Why don't you reach in your pocket? You want to make a difference? Why don't you make a donation? Help these guys out.
Or like some of my outfitter hunting buddies are doing. They're actually trailering their 16-foot flat-bottom John boat, and they're going into the flood areas at their own expense, at the risk of their lives. I mean, this is not a kibbutz that they're sailing into. I mean, this is raging floodwaters. Yep. There's all kinds of garbage floating by. You got electrical currents from telephone lines and all kinds of other hazardous things that they had to traverse. And again, they're doing it not because they have a gun pointed at them from the big government, but because this internal heroic fortitude that's stemming, again, I think, from a Christian worldview.
It is. It's the foundation. It's the foundation of some in America. It was the foundation and at the forming of our nation. And there's still some of those great people left in America, and they're rising up. You know, when it all hits the fan, you find out who really believes what they say, because you got to put your money where your mouth is. You got to put your life where your mouth is. And the people that, we're not talking about it. We're not tying a mask on our faces and going out and protesting something. We're going out and helping somebody. That's what it's about. And you're seeing people with that champion spirit that's rising up, and they're helping somebody else.
Hey, speaking about mask on your face and black hoodie sweatshirts and black little dicky blue jeans, I don't see any of the Antifa clowns or any of the Black Lives Matter protesters that have been bitching and moaning constantly and ruining life for all of Americans. I don't see any of their buses pulling up to Houston. I don't see any huge, rented U-Haul caravans coming into the Houston, Southeast Texas area filled with water, filled with bedding, filled with baby formula. I don't see any of that. What I do see, I see the Red Cross, again, based on a Christian worldview. I see Samaritan's Purse, Franklin Graham, and those guys rolling it out big time. Yep. And it's just interesting, man, because, people get hit with stuff, just like you said. You get thrown into this crisis. You get a storm that comes out of nowhere and completely bitch slaps you, dumps 50 inches of rain, knocks levees down, water coming over dams. And you know what? People, good people, rise to the occasion, and these Antifa thugs, these anarchists, these black bloc lunatics, they're nowhere to be found.
That's right.
You can't see them, you can't hear them, they don't manifest.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Doug, but I seem to see a lot of videos of white people, black people, Hispanic people, Asian people helping each other on every turn, everywhere you see. It's not racially divided. Look, when we're in a crisis, we don't have time to play those games. What you see is people acting like people. You see them acting like Christians, and they're taking care of each other.
Yeah, I saw this one video of this white guy, and he's holding this black kid. Looks like he's maybe 14, 16 years old, carrying him out of the flood water. I don't know what the context was of the situation, but Fox reports it as self-sacrifice and unity. And you see this white guy, carrying off this black kid to safety. I bet CNN's going to report it later that white supremacist is down in Houston stealing black people.
Yeah, they have a little bit different point of view on things, don't they? They got to spin it, turn it, skew it. You know why? Because the truth is this, Doug. For most people, now I know there's always fringe people that are stupid, idiot, morons, but I found that most people, when they're in need of help, that people help. I've never been refused to help because I was white by any person that was black or Hispanic or anything else. I've never refused to help somebody who was a different race or color than me because they're people. People are people. And when you see people in need, you see champions of every race rising up, and they're all working together to help each other. You know why? Because it wasn't a racist storm. It was just a storm. And I know that's going to lead you right into the next thing. That storm didn't pick Texas because they love Jesus. Come on, somebody. They didn't pick Texas. Why, Doug? They didn't pick Texas. The storm didn't pick Texas because they voted for Trump.
Well, you must not go to the sociologist professor at the University of Tampa's sociology class where he said that, and he said it in frickin' Tampa. I wouldn't be talking smack about hurricanes if I lived in Hurricane Central, which is Florida, in particular Tampa, right there on the coast. I mean, it perennial target for hurricanes year after year. And here this numbnut says that, man, I can't even use the redneck tone with him because that would be besmirching my redneck brethren, Richard. This little snowflake, he supposed that God's judgment came upon Texans because we voted for Trump. And I want to go back to something that you pointed out about not seeing any kind of iota of racism, how you got black people in the fray, you got Hispanic brothers, you got whites, you got a big Vietnamese population down there in Houston. And boom, miracle, revelation, Rich. That racism that is being fed to us via the MTV VMAs or CNN or MSLSD, the oh so sassy Rachel Maddow, it doesn't seem to exist in crisis. Texas is known for being a Republican state, completely went for Trump. And here are all these rednecks, Rich, these Southerners. And in the middle of a crisis, you see them, and it's one video after the other, of people frickin' helping people, not based upon their skin color. They're what? Hey, man, anybody in that house? Yeah, we're in here. What color are you? We're black. Screw off. That didn't happen, did it?
I didn't see that happen. I didn't hear anything about that.
And I tell you what, man, I hope the Warriors and Wildmen listeners, I hope that you get that you're being fed a line of crap about the divisiveness that's in this country. When it gets down to it, brass tacks, when we get squeezed, that's when you truly see what's inside of a people, a state, or a nation. Yeah. And what I'm seeing here is heroism, selflessness, no racism, unity, hard work, and self-sacrifice.
Come on, that's what I'm talking about.
Kiss my ass, CNN.
Yeah, because the reality is, this isn't time for a convenient opinion. A crisis is not the time for convenient opinions. It's the time for what's inside of you to really come out. And you might go along with the crowd and whatever the liberals say and whatever the news says, but when you see your neighbor suffering, when you see somebody else hurting, when you see somebody else going through a trial, you know what? Good people rise up and help people. And like you said, it's not determined on what color anybody is. That's all fake. That's all BS.
You know what I hope they do? I hope they find some of the people that they're trying to stoke into this race war for God only knows what reason. And they ask them, can you tell us the race, the color, the creed of the person who saved you? And then those people completely wreck the narrative, again, that's being foisted on us, being shoved down our throat and up our tailpipe by the likes of CNN. And I hope they really wreck it. Said, you know what? The guy was not my color. I think he was a transsexual. But you know what? He pulled me out of this wet, soaking, rising water that had me cornered up in my attic when I busted through the roof. And he showed up in a John boat. And at that stage, I really didn't care what his political beliefs were. I'm glad that I had a helping hand.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. That's really good.
Yeah, and again, this is countering the complete narrative that's being handed to us by the likes of Pelosi and stuff. And it's a horrible thing to happen. It's a catastrophic devastation. But you know what? What a great revelation that's coming forth to the American people, to the Warriors and Wildmen podcast listeners. This race-baiting stuff is garbage. It has no place in the U.S., and it took a disaster to show Texans, of all the loathed, hated people by the ludicrous left, coming together and showing what the human spirit, based again in a good old Texas Christian worldview, can do when times suck worse than an airplane toilet.
Well, it's typical politicizing a tragedy. That's the reality. Let me throw this out there. I don't know if you saw all the posts about Joel Osteen's church being in Houston. They wouldn't help anybody and blah, blah, blah. And people raked that dude over the coals. And let me throw this out there. Anybody that knows me knows I'm not a Joel Osteen fan. But I'll tell you what, I read that and I told my wife, I said, I don't believe that. That's not true. And when the truth comes out, their church is ridiculously flooded, and they had called and asked if they could become a shelter, what they could do with what they had. And they told them, no, the shelters aren't even full. And their church members even offered to personally house people after the shelters were full, when they were overflowing. They didn't want anybody on the streets. Like I said, I'm not a Joel Osteen fan, but you know what? I don't hear him talking about the mosques. How many mosques are out there rescuing people? I don't see anybody out there in their man dress and their turbine on their head. And yeah, I said that on purpose. I don't see them out there trying to rescue people. I don't see them bringing people into the mosques to shelter.
Well, you know why?
Because they have to move the AK-47s and make room.
Yeah, they got weapons cache in there. You can't get that crap in there. Get mixed up with baby formula and diapers and stuff.
They have cash in there?
Action. You know what? You know why the Muslim women weren't out rescuing them? That's a bitch trying to swim in those big black hijabs. You can't do that.
Well, I just think it's funny that
try to move in a tarp.
But that's the deal in America. We in the middle of a storm, a
bash
tragedy.
The Christians.
Yeah, they're bashing Christians, and guess what? Joel Osteen's also taking donations and directing them to the flood funds. And people are saying, I wonder what he's doing with that money. Hey, Doug, I might not agree with the stuff that he preaches about. I don't have to wonder what he's doing with the money. The money's going to help the people in the flood. That's how people are. It's politically correct to rip on Christians, even in the middle of a tragedy, call everybody racist, rip Christians apart. But guess what? Texas isn't over there doing what Louisiana did. And I'm not trying to pick on Louisiana, except I'm picking on Louisiana. They had a rainy day fund.
Yeah, $10 billion, right?
$10 billion in a, quote, rainy day fund. Well, it's a rainy day. You know what I'm saying? It's not, if California gets hit by a tragedy, shoot, man, we need to give California back to Mexico. You know why? Because then we can drive our four-wheelers on the beach again.
There you go, man. Hey, did you see a Bass Pro Shop got a call from Governor Abbott, and they said, we need every John boat that you have. And Bass Pro didn't say, oh, well, that's not going to be, fiscally responsible, and, we're going to take a big hit if we do something like that. They frickin' loaded up John boats on 18-wheelers. You ought to see this convoy of boats pulling out of all the Bass Pro Shops. Again, man, that's Texas. That's who the people, that's who the liberal lefties in their smarmy little tweed jackets sitting in the ivory tower up in these these schools in the Northeast regularly shit upon. And that's what comes out of good Texas, hardworking, God and country loving rednecks down here. Sacrifice, unity, heroism, and love.
You probably know the name of the mattress company, but there's a guy that owns a mattress company and has stores.
Furniture store, right?
What's it? Rick's Mattress? I can't remember the name.
Mats or something like that.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Two massive stores.
He opened them up. He said, my stores are open. Anybody needs a place to stay. You come stay here. Come on, man.
Funnest place to spend a wet weekend ever,
It's like, man, I'm going here and get on a mattress.
I saw pictures of kids jumping on the mattresses back and forth, and you know what? I guarantee his insurance is going to take care of it. If not, maybe some governmental assistance will help. But he didn't even think twice, man.
Yeah.
Opens up both mattress stores, unlocks the door, people come in, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a Texas thing.
You reap what you sow. That guy's sowing kindness. He's showing a good Christian attitude and a spirit of taking care of other people. And you know what? That'll return back to him because people are going to say,
oh, God,
that's the kind of guy I want to do business with right there. That's Texas, man. That's what's happening. Good people are rising up in the middle of the storm.
Hey, I don't know if you saw this before we close this Warriors and Wildmen podcast, but CNN, I can't remember the douchebag's name, but he's the one who asked Obama that really tough question, do you feel lonely sometimes? What's your favorite color? Yeah. You know, do you like, sushi and sake together? Some crap like that. And some presser that Obama did about 4 or 5 years ago. He said, Donald Trump is not showing enough empathy. Hey, numbnuts, we're Texans. We don't want empathy. We want people to work. We want them to roll up their sleeves, put on their damn wading boots, and come get somebody. We'll get empathy from our neighbors. We'll get empathy from our family. When it comes to government, we don't need crocodile tears. We need somebody to bring a crap load of John boats, drop them in the water, and pick our wrinkly, water-soaked bodies up. That's what we need, not crocodile tears. Thank you very much.
We need organization and leadership. We don't need an actor up on a stage acting like they care. If you care, show me.
Hey, and next time you Warriors and Wildmen listeners are getting around some jackass or you're watching television and they're besmirching Texans and they're talking about us rubes down here in the South and how we just poor dumb idiots, coal miners' daughters and sons. You remind them of the great sacrifice, and again, the heroism. I don't know if you saw this, Rich, 15-year-old kids blowing out of their garage with boats, picking up old ladies left and right.
That's what I'm talking about.
They weren't, Rich, they weren't sitting on Facebook, hashtagging, doing a Facebook pop filter, pray for Houston. They weren't hashtagging Harvey is bad. They got their ass out of their house, and you got to love it, Rich. Got in their boat, had the time of their life, saving lives. It's great stuff. All right, Rich, that's it for the Warriors and Wildmen broadcast on Texas and the Texas spirit in big time disasters. What do the Warriors and Wildmen listeners need to do, my friend?
Go to the Warriors and Wildmen page on Facebook, like us, go on iTunes, subscribe if you got the guts to do it. Leave a comment, rate us, review us, let us know what you think. If you love us, well, then you're obviously intelligent. If you hate us, well, keep listening, you'll get smarter.